Hello, this is Amalia from Garden of Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to make this amazing piglet doll. And it's a full tutorial, so you will see how we make our dolls from start to finish. We like to prepare ahead, so first thing we do, we pre-cut all the pieces for all the parts of the doll. The next step is to add some tearaway stabilizer into your hoop and add your fabric and start making the doll. The first thing we made are legs. So here you can see we put a piece of fabric for the legs. We set up the machine. First thing it does is stitch a placement line. So you know where to place your fabric. Place it over. At this time you can tape it so the edges won't roll up. Of course you can tape down your fabric. We just do not do it at this step, but if you want to be sure or you have a different kind of machine, just do that. So after placing material and after doing the placement stitch, you can prepare the fabric for the shoes. You will have to use non-fray fabric as the back of the shoes, the top part is not embroidered, so it is important to be non-fray material. And here you can see we add the first layer for the shoes facing front up, right side facing up. And now it does a placing stitch for the shoe and then for the other shoe. And after this it makes the stitch in the middle where it will be cut out. Next thing you have to do, just remove your hoop and trim away excess material. We like to leave the sides and just cut where the satin stitch will be. You can see our scissors are not very sharp, but here's how you do it. Then place back the hoop and it will do a satin stitch around the edges. We had people using marine vinyl or other kind of non-fray materials. For the smaller size, I wouldn't recommend it because it's kind of hard to turn it. But of course, you can experiment and try different options. You can see now it does the satin stitch for the top part of the shoe. And when it's done, we just place another piece of fabric for the shoes. This one is facing down, so right side facing down, and it's aligned with the top part of the front of the shoe. So you can see where to place it. Just use the front of the shoe as a guideline. And after this, you put another piece of fabric for the back of the leg. And this will be the final stitch for the legs. It just goes around and leaves an opening, so you can then turn inside out. This is how the shoes for the girl are done, and now we are going to show you how the shoes for the boy are done, because they are different. So after doing first steps, the first steps are similar to the girl shoes. So it's just placing the leg material, then the shoe material, and doing that placing stitch. You will notice this time it does not make a hole in the middle. It just makes a satin stitch. We cut the top part close to the stitch, and then the satin stitch is done. And after this, there are placing stitches for shoelaces. We used 2 strips of ribbon to make the shoelaces. You can use whatever you want, different kinds of ribbon, even real shoelaces. So here's how it is done. We put the first piece of ribbon. It got stitched down. Then we remove the hoop and put the second, cut away the excess, and then stitch placing stitches for the second. So the design shows you exactly where you should put the ribbon. We use the 3mm ribbon. So here's how we tape down the second one, and now it's stitched in place. After this, we remove the tape, we cut away the excess ribbon, and then the satin stitch follows, which covers all those edges so it doesn't fray and it looks very nice. And after this step, the final step comes when you put the fabric for the back of the shoes, again aligned on the top, at the top of the shoes with the front part, and then just add the back of the leg piece of fabric and finish the leg just as you did for the girl. Next we have the arms. Here the machine does a placing stitch right on the stabilizer, so you know where to put your fabric. And after this, just place your fabric over there. We used a smaller piece of fabric, so it is enough. You put 2 pieces of fabric, right sides facing each other. We taped it down because it's a smaller piece, and there was a risk to curl up and get all jammed. So taping your fabric is a good idea. And here it does the final stitch for the arms. It leaves an opening so you can turn them later. And after this, of course, next step will be to make the ears. So if you have a design with ears, you make the ears. Here it does a placing stitch for the felt inside the ear. So this is an idea we had for making the ears to be stiffer at the bottom. We put a strip of felt inside. So after the placement stitches are done, you get a strip of felt and put it right there, align it with the top part of the stitches. So this one was a little bit too big, we had to cut a piece of it, tape it down, and then the machine will stitch it in place. You can use foam for this or other stiff materials you have. And after the placing stitch is done, after the tack down stitch is done, sorry, you will cut away the excess from the sides of the ears. Try to trim as closely as you can, but carefully, not to cut the stitches. So this is the inside of the pig ear. Now you put the fabric for the inside part of the ear. We use the fleece for this part, so it tacks down this piece of fabric. And the next you will put the back of the ears, right side facing down, so these parts are facing each other. Here's the back part. We used the minky for this. We really like the dotted one. If you have a dotted minky and you would like to make it smooth, just run over it with steam iron and the bubbles will be gone. So here we finished the ears. Now we'll have to cut all the pieces out to trim the excess material. Here's how we trim the ears, and after trimming we will turn them. Try to cut as close to the stitch, but be careful not to cut it. Here we make some small cuts on the curved parts, so it will stay better when turned. Of course, be very careful not to cut the stitches, and here's how we turn it. Fast and easy. This is an ear, so we made it. You can see half of it is very stiff and the top part is quite soft. Here are the ears. Next we cut the arms out. We cut the excess fabric. Be sure to leave a wider piece of fabric where the opening is. This will help you when you stitch it. Here's the easy way to turn it. Use your finger and turn it inside out. For the legs, remove tear away and cut along the seams. Again, leaving a wider piece of fabric where the opening is, and then cutting quite close to the edges. Remember to make small cuts where the curved parts are. This will help when you turn it out so it stays nice and curvy. Here you can see the leg all turned out, and in the back of the leg you can see the shoe is open. And now we make the body for the doll. First is a placing stitch. It shows you where to place the material. You can skip this step. And just add the fabric. Here you can see we put some temporary spray adhesive to keep the fabric down. And now it runs a tack down stitch. Here for the nose, it's a simple applique. You put the fabric, it stitches it down, and then you trim away the excess. This is very easy to do. Cut close to the seam, it will be covered with a satin stitch, put the hoop back again, and here, because we are using minky, we added a piece of wash away water soluble, it's called here. And now it starts with the eyes, and we put this part faster. Of course, I would like my machine to work that fast, wouldn't you? Here you can see it makes the eyes, and then it goes to the nose, and you just do the embroidery for all the face. Here's the mouth, the cheeks, and the mane. And after this part, you will have to remove the wash away film. Be very careful so you don't tear out all the fabric. Now it does the placing stitches for the ears, so you know where to put them. And now just place the ears, you put them with the insides facing down, like you see here, and we like to use tape to keep them in place. We don't like to use our fingers, although sometimes we just stick one in there. Just be very careful, do not do this at home. Don't place your fingers close to the needle. Everybody knows what happens. And after this is done, it goes along and makes placing stitches for legs. To make it easier to turn, we put the legs in without stuffing. So now we just place the legs. You can see it has the back part of the legs facing up. We tape them in place, and at the end, so they don't roll up. And now the machine will stitch them down so they stay in place and do not move, because of course we do not want our doll to have funny looking legs. And now just remove the tape, and we like to fold the legs so they don't get caught up in the final seam at the neck. So just fold them like this, and add the big piece of fabric for the back of the body and tape it down to make sure it stays in place, just like this. And continue with the final stitch. It will leave an opening for turning when it's done. Here you can see it goes all the way around the doll. We like using minky fabric also because it's a bit elastic, so it looks really nice when you stuff it. It doesn't wrinkle, and it's so soft to touch. Kids really love it. So here is the end. And after this, we go to stuff the arms to prepare them for when we will assemble the doll. Just add stuffing, and when they are full, do a leather stitch. Here you can see how I folded that piece of fabric that we left a bit wider, so to cover that part. I use the red so you can better see what I'm doing, but of course you should use coordinating colors. So here's how I do it. The ladder stitch. You just stitch on the right, on the left, on the right, on the left, until you reach the top part. Sorry, my zoom got in the way here. It keeps zooming and focusing. I hope you understand what I mean by this. So you just continue until you reach the top part. You can see here the excess fabric. You just fold it in and hide it. Make sure to get a better needle, a sharper needle. I had some problems putting it through the fabric. Make your life easier and get a sharper needle. So you can still see the red thread, but as you reach the end, you just pull real tight, and it should just sink into the fabric and disappear. Of course, if you're not using minky or this type of fabric, you'll have to be much careful with your stitching so it doesn't show up, but this kind of fabric is quite forgiving. I like to do this and get the needle outside the other part, so the end of the thread is hidden. Continue to the last arm, and here we have the body. Remove the tearaway. Don't worry about that small strip of tearaway that remains between the two seams. It can just stay there. Here, leave a wider opening, a wider strip where you do the opening, and just cut around. When you reach sharp angles like we have at the neck, be sure to go in close to the, see, here we went very close, so when it turns it doesn't do that funny puckery thing. I'm not sure how it's called. So we turn out, and here we have Miss Jane, the piggy. We still had a bit of wash away on the nose. And we start stuffing it really fast. After we stuff the doll, we like to put quite a lot of stuffing, so it keeps her head up. It doesn't just lean back or... So after adding all the stuffing, you will do again a ladder stitch like we did for the hands. And do the same for the legs, add stuffing and do ladder stitching. Next part, I will show you how to make the overalls. You can also make a dress. I will show you later how to do that. So for these designs, we decided to do some overalls. After it does the placing stitch for the fabric, it will do two small stitches for the strips of fabric, and then you put the two strips of fabric there and stitch them down. Sorry, my English is not my native language. I hope you understand. everything I'm trying to explain here. Then you add the piece of fabric. Please use non-fray fabric. We used fleece, and you place it right side up. After it does the tack down stitch, it will do some decorative stitching. A blanket stitch is called. And after all this is done, remove it from the hoop, put paper in the hoop again, and then do the placing stitch for the front part. That was the back part. This is the front. And again, put a piece of fabric, and do the tack down stitch. And here you will have the sunflower or the corn or any other decorative embroidery. Here you have the pockets, the fake pockets, and of course the sunflower. We thought for this design a sunflower is appropriate. After all this is done, it will stitch the belt. We like to add belts to our designs. And after the belt is done, you put the ribbon, stitch it on the sides, right on the belt, stitch the ribbon in place. And after you're done with this, just add the back part which you previously made. Make sure to align all the corners so it looks nice and neat. And here we didn't use tape, we used the needles. The tape was only for the straps. We use needles to keep it better secured, especially at the corners, so they stay aligned. You can use tape for the sides, of course, depending on the type of machine you have. If you have a one needle, tape is for sure needed. And now it does the final stitching. And if you want to make it a dress, just skip the stitch between the legs. And after that, we go on and cut out the overalls. Cut pretty closer to the seams. And for the top part, so it looks nice. So like the blanket stitch, it's right on the edge. Be careful not to cut the strips of fabric. Now cut the seam between the legs and remove the tearaway. Make sure to get all the pieces out so it looks nice and neat. And after all this is done, you can just go ahead and turn it. So here we have it, all turned out. Remove the tape from the ribbon. And there you go, you have an overall. After this, just go on and attach the arms. You can see how I did it here, just stitch them to the body. But if you want to make this stitch more secure, maybe you have younger kids or something like this, you can use a very big long needle and go through the body and come back, stitch the other arm, and then go like 3 times back and forth through the arms. You can add buttons here. We don't really prefer the buttons, so we didn't. And nobody plays with these dolls, they are for show only. So after you stitch the arms, you will put on the overalls on the doll, get her dressed. Oh yeah, before that we added on the buttons. This is just for decorative purposes. You can still skip this step or add whatever you want. We really like to use buttons. We have an entire collection. So here we put the overalls on the doll. It's very easy to do this. And after it is in place, see how long the strips are, decide where you can cut the excess. So here we cut the excess and then added the buttons and stitched it to the overalls. Now that I see this, I'm thinking you could make a small cut in the strip and sew the button directly to the front part, and then there really is like a normal overall, but this is your choice. Next we have the bow. Sorry, my words are not coming to me today. We have the placement stitch, and then you put 2 pieces of fabric right sides together, the first, the second one, and do the final stitching. We made for Miss Piggy, we made 2 of these, one larger, one smaller. We just thought it would be more interesting to layer them. When you receive the files, you have multiple types of bows, so you can make whatever you like. Here you can see we cut it out and then cut a small slit in the middle. Use that to turn it out. See? And then you have the smaller one. Use another strip of fabric for the middle and sew them together. We really wanted you to have more options, and that is why with all of our designs, all the types of bows, they come with the design. Here you can see how I placed the strip of fabric. This will be in the back, so you don't have to be all that artistic about it. And now we place it wherever we want. It's hard to decide sometimes where to put the bow. And there you have it. This is the final step. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Please join our Facebook group so you will get more advice and help from us and from the other members. We really enjoy having you there, and you are welcome to come join us. Thank you. Bye.